Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Monday, and it's June 7th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And no, I didn't take my vacation, my fishing trip, with my dog needing some special attention and extra care, and me, and the weather not being really good. I'm going to postpone my trip. I just thought it was the best thing to do. So um, I really hated to leave town with him still on, having to take medication and needing some special attention on his surgery spot and that kind of thing. I just decided that I would stay here, and so no vacation. So we're going to have a regular week this week, and let's get to this chart lesson. I want to wrap this up pretty quickly. Um, Not a lot of trades today. Really quiet day. It's just a range day, and you can see we started it here for the day, traded down, traded back up, tested that, traded back down, tested that to the tick, and we're headed higher. My guess is there's probably not enough time in the day that we're going to retest the highs, but prices tried to go back up. So it's just a range day. Not a lot of volume, and volatility's really low. There's not a lot of trades, but there's a couple of really good trades here. So you just have to be patient. Sometimes it's hard. It was hard for me today, but you just have to sit there. Normally I don't trade much past 10 o'clock, definitely not after lunch, but I took one late afternoon trade. I actually took this failure right here today. And only reason I mention that is just because you have to be patient on a day like this. And I had a couple of people mention to me by email that it was a really quiet day and they couldn't find any trades, but there's a few here. And you have to be patient, but you can't force trades on a day like this for sure. I had one person send me an email they lost right in here, and sure, there's a second entry there. It's not a good one on my chart, but their chart they had a pretty good signal bar there. But if you draw this channel correctly and you see that we come up short right here, and you're coming up here and you see the congestion and the channel working up, let this play out. I mean, we know the thought process is we're going to always try to test this low. That's what prices are going to try to do in most cases. But the problem is timing it. So just because you see a second entry here, don't take it, especially when you came up short right here, because usually you're going to overshoot it by at least an equal amount. And by the time that happened, this is congestion. It actually was congestion by the time he took the trade, but his chart looked totally different than mine, really. So anyway, let's back out here, talk about what we do have, and wrap this day up. I've got some other business I need to take care of, so I need to get out of here pretty quickly today. But anyway, 7 o'clock came right up through here, and we pull back. We get a break of this little short-term channel. It's just a first entry. I don't recommend taking that trade. Prices aren't even back to the EMA there, so no long there. And of course, we go up and we test that overnight high, and then you make a first entry, second entry, and it fails. But that's just congestion. Everything's still above the EMA. Don't go short there. No confirmation of that trend line, because this is what happens. You get stopped out only to see prices do just what you think they're going to do. So you had to be really patient today. You got a first entry there. You actually got a lower high here. I didn't mark that one because I really think you need to wait on a second entry with all that support across there. If you did take it, it wouldn't be the worst thing that ever happened. You could argue for that one to be, because it does confirm the trend line. But if you wait just a minute, you get a failure. And even then, it took it a little bit to go. But once you got that next move up there and it came off the trend, it broke higher and turned down. I like going short on this one on the engulfing bar, but most of you, unless you're a really good chart reader, wait on this to close just to be sure. And when it closes that bearish, just go short right there. And that's probably the trade of the morning. So really, you don't get much better than that really for a long time. So, but we work on down, and then you get a second entry short with and the only reason I like this trade is because of that big bearish bar right there. Prices can't even get back to the EMA. We're kind of at the midline there. I like going short there. There's a lower high here, but by that time there's too much support and it's right into the low, so I wouldn't take that one. I'd wait. And then, of course, you get another second entry here. If you had a good signal bar on your chart, take that one too, because we've been turning down there a few times now. But that signal bar doesn't qualify on my chart. So, but if you did have a good signal bar there, by all means, go short right there on that second entry. And then we try to go higher. Notice there's a new swing high right here. It's higher than this one. So then you try to go higher once, twice, and again, right at the midline, you get a failed second entry. It's a little congestive, and you got to go short right into the lows. So I did mark it green. However, I still like that trade. It didn't actually break lower till over here. So you may take that trade. It's a little aggressive. But this is, I mean, this was really starting to look like a really strong downtrend here. And there's no doubt this is in play. And as long as you keep turning down off that midline, if you get a good setup, you generally probably want to take it. So again, there was a lower high right here, but with that 2-bar matching high, right, it would have worked, but I wouldn't take that trade. You would expect prices are going to test this low, but when and exactly how, that's the question. We don't always know. So you have to follow this price action properly and respect it at all times. If you don't, you're going to get burned, just like right here. So sure, there's a new low there, and then there's a first entry, and actually the second entry was right here on my chart. And I think the other trader had his there too. He drew this a little steeper, like I think he drew it like this. Something like this, and he had a little poke up through here, up here, and I think he had a little overshoot down at the bottom. So, but needless to say, that's not correct. Again, his chart looked a little different than mine. I believe this is the way the chart looks right here. And so, anyway, you come up short down here, and then you get that first entry, second entry, but we're not even back to the trend line yet. Actually, this was a little higher, and I've got this a little too high too. So there's no reason to go short right there. This is really your signal bar on my chart, and it's not good enough. And then we're just kind of working sideways, but his second entry short was further up here somewhere. And we do try to go higher right there, but you need a close outside like this right here. Then we move to a new high, and then you get a lower high. But unfortunately, that signal bar doesn't qualify, and I don't get to take that trade. Again, if you got a good signal bar right there, go short. But the idea is to make sure you let these little short-term deals play out. You got to let them play out. If this is a real strong trend day, if you get a second entry off this trend line, maybe you take it. But on a day like this, where you're still trading inside the overnight highs and lows, and although this looks like a pretty good trend down, there's no reason to believe this isn't going to be a range day. So you got to stay with it, and you got to let it play out. So, but that's a nice trade. Unfortunately, I couldn't take it, and then you don't want to enter in this, and you pull back and you get a high. This one is tempting right here, but it's only a first entry, although you could look at that as a failed second entry short. If you want to be aggressive, that's another one you could argue to be green, but I didn't like it. I'll just be honest with you. I still think we need to test this low, although we could reverse. You just never know. So, but when we made that high and we came back, we try to go higher. We got a first entry, second entry that fails. I like going short there on the trap right there. And if you don't like that one, just wait a minute, and then you get a second entry short with a big bearish bar right there. And that runs all the way down to the tick and tests where we had this. I usually put it off the closes. We tested that to the tick, made a higher low. Unfortunately, no signal bar there that you can trade. And I drew this arrow here because I wanted to talk about this. Technically, you could look at that as a first entry, second entry. But this doesn't, I don't like the way this is set up because it's so congestive. But if you took it, maybe, it's another one. Maybe you argue to be green. But I like treating this as a new low and then a first entry and a second entry. And then look how it takes off. And you can tell the better chart readers are waiting on something. This is just a little bit, with all that congestion right there, it's just a little bit too questionable. And so, but when it gives you, after it makes that second attempt and gives you no congestion there, that's a much better trade right there, right off the EMA. And this one takes off. And this gave you a nice runner too. So very nice trade. And that took you into 2 o'clock, and you could have taken that runner. I'd ride this all the way up until we got the first break outside of the trend channel, and that was up here. So that's a nice runner there. You just waited. If you just waited till you got the first, if you just waited and went below that bar, there's a little over 4 points, 4 points in the tick for you. So nice runner there. And that did it for the day. So again, we didn't quite get back to the highs. We ran out of time. It was just a quite slow day. It almost felt like a holiday day today. So like a Friday holiday weekend where it really gets slow. But we'll see if this continues. We may be going into the summer doldrums. They may be cranking up now. This may be how it's going to look for a little while with the summer. I mean, this is actually we say this is slow, but this is kind of a normal. Before pre-COVID, this is kind of a normal day for this time of year. So it just makes me wonder if maybe we aren't going to kind of slow back to a much more normal market, and we'll see. So anyway, hope you had a good trading day. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I need to get out of here today. I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.